So how are you defining the subconscious mind before we start reprogramming?
That's a great question. Okay. So let's start in terms of what it is that I perceive through a higher consciousness perspective, not through my physical eyes or my intellect, but through the true mind's eye and the higher mind itself. So the subconscious, I think the best way to look at it, Brian, is to see it as the best recording device that's ever been created. So it literally records every single moment, every single second of your entire existence, which includes past lives, present lives, and future lives, which are all happening concurrently. But it literally records everything. Now, how it does this has to do with our body of energy. And I think this is what's been missing, along with a couple other things that's been missing before in terms of the subconscious understanding it and how to deprogram it. Our body of energy and our more subtle bodies of energy, how the subconscious works are the indentations and the identifications that are made within our subtle body. So the image that I use in the book, and that's what becomes the programs. So the image I use in the book is, think of a bedspread.
Which I love. I love this explanation. It really helped to me. Keep
Yeah,
going. Yeah.
perfect. So yeah, this is, I think once we have these kind of images and tangibility, it makes a world of difference for everybody. So if we think of a bed, hospital corners, nice and tight, right? And then if we take a marble, right, and just place the marble on the bedspread. Now, if we looked closely, right, where the marble touches the bedspread, we would see just the slightest indentation, right, where the marble is leaving its impact upon the bedspread. Okay, now imagine our subtle body of energy. And you can think of this relates to the seven chakras, but it goes beyond that. It goes beyond that. But think of the seven chakras as one bedspread. So now think each one of these different frequential bandwidths, our subtle body of energy, is a bedspread. So there's seven, even though there's more. I don't want to go too far with it. Every single thing that is within that frequential range is a marble. Every sound we hear, every image that we ever see, every experience that we ever have, every voice that we ever hear, everything that we ever touch, even the things that go well beyond physical sensory perception, are actually leaving marbles all over our subtle body of energy, these indentations. Those indentations becomes your programmed subconscious mind. They leave an indent. And then the energy works through those things and around those things. So every time there's an indentation, it affects our behavior. It affects our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, and our behaviors. And it goes even higher than that. It affects our desires and our intentions. Every one of these little marbles. So those are the indentations from subtle energies that's beyond physical sensory perception, including the ones that are within physical sensory perception. Now, the ones that we identify with, the things that we have perceived, heard, or experienced that we identify ourselves with, that becomes part of the egoic mind. So there's synergy between the subconscious patterned mind from all these different marbles within all these different frequential bandwidths. The ones that we identify ourselves with becomes the subconscious patterned egoic mind. Now, once we have these things embedded, and everyone is filled with them, absolutely filled with them. If we could actually look at a human being, we would just see dots and indentations all over the place. Now, everything that we operate from has to do with those. None of us are free. None of us are able to operate with true freedom. And true freedom is not doing whatever you want, whenever you want. That's not freedom. Real freedom is escaping the tyranny of the finite mind and limiting body consciousness. That is freedom. So when we start to address the subconscious pattern mind, the marbles that are within there, when we go through the system, we remove. Now we own our own mind. Now there's no such thing as a limitation. Now our desires and our intentions are authentic to us. They're not programmed in through society. We're not brainwashed. We're not indoctrinated. Most of us are doing, not even most of us, all of us, are programmed to behave and act and think and desire the exact same things. Why is that? Because it's been planted. Those are the marbles that are within there. So until we remove them, we can never transcend the subconscious patterned egoic mind. We will be left with limitations that we don't see, that we keep recycling the experiences and never actually having fulfillment or cessation or knowingness of the true I am. What we end up having is just the endless appetite for the things that have been programmed into our subconscious mind.
So you made an important comment. You mentioned that part of our subconscious is all of our past lives and our past incarnations. So obviously that's a daunting amount of information underlying just this life. So how can we possibly overcome the programming of countless other lives other than this one? I mean, I'm kind of aware of what sort of programming I've been through in this life, but how do we come to grips with the infinite programming that we've experienced in all these past lives?
Yeah, that's a great question. All right, so that's actually what becomes the biological computer or the genetic entity. So all the thought patterns, all the emotional patterns, all the societal conditionings, all the traumatic events that have happened throughout history through your genetic, your hereditary, becomes I mean, this is it. It gets embedded within our DNA. Okay, so that's what this thing really is. This is our ancestors. Okay, now how do we overcome that? Is the residing consciousness or sentience or the I am that's within the vehicle. Once it actually takes command of the incarnation, we rewrite all of the genetic history. It only takes one person to liberate themselves to heal all of their ancestors. So it's nothing additional. We've been conditioned to believe that we're a slave to genetics, and that way we have to, healing then becomes outside of ourself, and all, we can go on and on about that, right? It's complete black magic. It's complete nonsense. It's materialism, and it's actually Luciferian. That whole thing. Maybe that's a whole nother discussion we can get into.
Right.
Reducing consciousness to everything that's outside of yourself, and therefore solidifying it and crystallizing it. Okay, so the soul that is occupying the vehicle, when it fully takes command by deprogramming itself, it overrides genetics. Genetics are actually nowhere near as impactful as people think they are. Not even close. I've been diagnosed with a whole bunch of stuff that's impossible to overcome, and I absolutely have, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. And I absolutely have, and it has to do with understanding this. Once you take command, once the I am takes command of the vehicle, you're now in charge, not the genetics. If you identify deeply with the physical form, if you see yourself as this, then you will become a slave to genetics. You'll become a slave to the body. You'll also become a slave to what the body produces: thoughts, emotions, bodily sensations. And then you'll identify with the experiences that the body has. Now you actually have no shot of deprogramming your subconscious mind or liberating yourself or healing. So we have ultimate potential and ultimate control. We're abdicating it through identification with the body. And then we say, because that's all we ever hear, oh, it's genetics, there's nothing you can do about it. That is absolutely nonsense.
I'd really like to get your feel for the power of language on our programming in subconscious. Something I'm super fascinated by. And when, the things that were working for me in deprogramming my subconscious was affirmations and hypnosis and deep sleep programming and those kind of things. When I became aware as a hypnotist, the power of key phrases, words, modalities, and different programs like that, I became aware of my own programming, and that we're constantly being programmed all the time by words around us. And that plays a role in the energy. So how does that fit into your model of the subconscious and our ways of reprogramming it?
Yeah, it's absolutely part of it. It goes beyond words, but that's absolutely part of it. Everything that we see, we feel, we hear, even energies that are outside of physical sensory perception, become marbles that land within the subtle body. Now, language is certainly part of it. Most of us communicate through language. Once we get into about the fifth frequency, or what people call the fifth dimension, most of the communication will be telepathic, and there really won't be language. So, but for now, we are certainly spelled by words, without a doubt. So the whole origination of the meaning of words, Brian, comes from the effect of the sound that it had upon the ether. So as we emanate, in the beginning was the word, and the word was sound. Okay, so sound is what creates the formulation of matter. Look at the somatics, right? All the different, you put a certain frequency and a certain sound, and all of a sudden shape takes place. So it plays a huge role. We are constantly spelling ourselves. The voice inside your head, the story that you tell yourself, is you literally spelling yourself. You are putting yourself in a state, an unawakened state. So it plays a massive, it's part of it. It's not the whole thing. And it's not the whole thing from my perspective, it's not the whole thing by a long shot, but it's absolutely essential. And the key to the real transformation that these things don't prior, we don't deprogram first. We have to deprogram first and then address mantras, affirmations, and commands, because if we still have this going on, right, the societal conditioning, all the stuff from past lives, we have all this going on, right? Think of it this way, Brian. That is a very specific frequency that we're emanating, right? Whatever we got going on in the subconscious mind, whatever it is, pick something, it doesn't really matter, right? But that is like a specific frequency that we are emanating. You think of it as like a song, right? Now, the universe can only match that. The universe mirrors everything. Everything here is designed for self-mastery. The multiverse is a multi-frequential, multi-dimensional hall of mirrors designed for self-mastery, which simply mirrors every single emanation that we have. And I've been everywhere, and that's exactly how it works. Now, so if we have this emanating, Brian, we have our subconscious mind, lack, fear, all these different programs, right, going on. That's what we emanate. The universe matches it. Now, if we don't address that, we don't deprogram that, and we tack on affirmations, commands, mantras. Now what we're doing, it's kind of like emanating two songs at the same time. We got our programming, and 95% of reality creation comes from the programming, and then we're trying to tack on something to that. So now we're emanating two songs at the same time. This is why we get mixed results, because nobody can dance to two songs at the same time. We ask the universe to do it, but it doesn't work. So the key is to address those programs, delete them, then add on what is truly representative of your highest desire and what it is that you're possible. So to me, that is the way to operate.